Hey, family. It is not as simple as just saying, hey, I'm the president, I'm going to build a ballroom to the White House. First of all, you all need to know that the White House is federal property. It is owned by the U.S. government, not the person in the Oval Office. So when this news broke a week or so ago that Trump wants to build a 90,000 square foot ballroom to the White House, as outrageous as it sounds, here's the thing: the White House doesn't belong to him, and it doesn't belong to any president. And adding something that massive isn't as simple as calling a contractor. You got to remember, this man is a developer. He's not a politician, so he doesn't even understand the checks and balances that go into adding on to this structure, which belongs to the federal government, not an individual entity. So let's jump into it. As I said, the White House is federal property owned by the U.S. government, not the person in the Oval Office, and is maintained as part of President's Park, which is under the National Park Service, okay? The president lives there, but is more like a tenant than a temporary lease than a homeowner. See, the problem is this president thinks he's going to be there and plans to be there in duration. And so that's why he is adding on to the wants to add on to the White House as if he's doing renovations to his own property, okay? So think of it this way. You can paint the walls in your rental, but you can't bulldoze the backyard without your landlord's permission. And in this case, the landlord is the American people. And I want you all to know what power you have, okay? Now, let's talk about the approval maze. If the president wants to make major changes, especially something as huge as a 90,000 square foot ballroom, here's who stands in the way. First of all, Congress. Congress controls the federal purse strings. Now, one way that the president has tried to find a way around that is he's found private funders to do this, but that still doesn't give them the freedom to add a ballroom. But let me tell you, if there were not private financiers, Congress holds the purse. Any project using taxpayers' money must be approved in the budget. And again, even if privately funded, Congress can still block or limit structural changes to federal property. Secondly, another approval maze is the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts. This was created under the Shipstead-Luce Act of 1930. It reviews and approves exterior design changes to federal buildings in D.C., including the White House grounds. Their job is to protect the look, the feel, and historical character of Washington, D.C., you all. Third, the National Capital Planning Commission. The central planning agency for federal property in D.C. It ensures projects meet environmental, historical, and zoning requirements. And also, they can require environmental impact studies and public comment periods before approving this. So again, it's not like he just says, look, let me call Charlie the contractor. I need you to put a big pool and a ballroom and all into the White House and make it a compound. No, this is not Mar-a-Lago, player. Next, the Committee for the Preservation of the White House. They oversee historically significant interior spaces like the State Dining Room, the Blue Room, and the East Room. Also, the First Lady serves as honorary chair, but actual decisions involve preservation experts. And lastly, you have the Chief Usher. Not a decision maker, but he or she coordinates the logistics, the timing, and contractors for any White House work. So why a ballroom is complicated? First of all, a 90,000 square foot addition is not just a renovation. It would alter the building's footprint and potentially its security profile, y'all. 2, the Secret Service would need to evaluate the risk. 3, preservation laws protect the White House as a national historic landmark, meaning any project must avoid harming its historic integrity. 4th, similar past projects like the Truman reconstruction in the 1940s or the addition of the West Wing in 1902 required years of planning, multiple approvals, and full congressional funding. This isn't like adding a deck to your house, y'all. Okay? This is like trying to add a whole sports arena to Mount Vernon. You got that? There are centuries of history that this man is wanting to mess with and manipulate. But when you don't respect culture and democracy and history, you just think this is one of your other buildings you can just add to because he thinks this is his house. And Americans, this is not his house. This is our house. And you have a say. even if it's privately funded. So let's talk about this. Why private funding still doesn't bypass the rules. Even if no taxpayer money is used, the president cannot skip legal processes. And here's why. Federal property laws still apply, y'all. Public buildings are governed by federal law and preservation rules. Private money does not erase those regulations. 2, the Commission of Fine Arts. Like I mentioned before, under the Shipstead-Luce Act, the Commission of Fine Arts must approve any exterior design changes to federal buildings, including the White House, and they protect its historical look and ensure alterations fit the city's architectural character. So listen to this. Let's talk about historical context. In history, White House changes, they did happen, like in 1948. Truman's full renovation or the addition of the West Wing in 1902. It took a lot of planning. Even smaller upgrades have been reviewed, debated, and sometimes rejected. And the president's personal preferences have never been enough on their own to authorize major construction. So, why this ballroom would be controversial? First of all, the size and cost. 90,000 square feet is larger than the White House itself, which is only 55,000 square feet, okay? Secondly, donor influence. Private funding raises ethical concerns. Will wealthy donors expect favors in return, you all? Come on, family. Look how it turned out with Elon Musk, who was a funder who damn near bought Trump, the White House. How he came in and was able to manipulate and do whatever he wants. And by the way, where the hell is he now? 3, why this ballroom be controversial? Public perception. Many Americans see the White House as a historical symbol, not a personal project for one president's legacy. But see, this man, Trump, does not see this as something he's going to pass on. He thinks he's going to live there because he thinks that's his house and he wants this to become a dictatorship. He's a fascist. This is what he's doing. So, whether it's your tax dollars or a billionaire's checkbook, the president can't just build what he wants on federal property. I will reiterate that. It doesn't matter if it's not taxpayers' dollars, if it's billionaires' checkbooks. The president cannot just build what he wants on federal property. The White House belongs to the American people. You hear that, Americans? The White House belongs to the American people. And any major change must pass through layers of law, history, and oversight. Money might talk, but in this case, the rules speak louder. And that's the bottom line, America. And so you all can sit back and think that you don't have a say, but you do. Don't let this man treat the White House as if it's one of his properties. This is not a Trump Plaza. Many people have worked, bled, and died for our democracy. Don't let this clown come in, this narcissist come in with his billionaire cronies and think they're going to build a ballroom that they're going to be using in generations to come because he wants to be a king. The White House belongs to the American people. And if you are an American listening at the sound of my voice, this house belongs to you. Please pass this video on so people can understand. Please. Because knowledge is power, family. And right now we need power.